Okay, hi, it's Ruben Abramov, and this is my favorite month of the year. Now, some people would say, what do you mean? What's so special? And I would say, well, there's so many interesting things about the Jewish month that was originally HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim. English, Ruben. This month that just started is the first month of the entire year. Not January, not Rosh Hashanah with Tishrei, but this one. So, hey, how could you say such a thing? So, I'll take out a Chumash, and I'll open it up, if I can find one close by. And we could look at where it says that this month, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim, that this month is the head month of the year. Let me see if I can find it. So that means that the new year started now in the springtime. And you have a lot of calendars that start in the springtime. I know the Persian calendar, that's called the Nowruz, which happens to have been my great-grandfather's name, Nowruz Kalati. Then you also have spring, which some people would say, well, that's a new season, a new time of the year. So I would give that to them too. New moon, see Chodesh. Stay with me, everybody. Chodesh. All right, Ruben, get it together. Okay, super positive. Here we go. Right out there. So it says that 4:36. Oh, I pray this comes out the way it should. And it says, and I could probably say it by heart, but let's see if I could see it in the text. Believe it or not. So here you have, I'll just quote it because I know it by heart. And it says, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim, which I started to explain. So now you have the first day of that month, Chodesh HaRishon. It did not yet have a name like we have it now. We go Nisan. Nisan is a Babylonian name. It's not a Jewish name. How do you get a Babylonian name on the Jewish calendar? I'll tell you. We lived in Israel after Egypt. We left Egypt in the year 2448 from creation. We traveled for 40 years in the desert, so that we get to Israel 2488. We then wander around for the better part of about 500 years, and King Solomon builds the temple, and that temple stood for 420 years. Then what happens is the Babylonians march upon Jerusalem, and they surround and siege and starve people, and they destroy the temple. And those are the 4 fast days. Asara B'Teves, where the siege started. Shiva, which is the 10th of Teves, a Babylonian name, in the spring. Then you have Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, the 17th of Tammuz, which is in the summertime, which is when they breached the walls. Now, I don't use that word much very often, but it means that they busted down, they broke into the walls, and then on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, or some people go Tisha B'Av, it's the 9th of the month of Av, that's when they destroyed, the Babylonians tore down the temple of King Solomon, Beit Adonai, the house of God. We say Beit HaMikdash. And then finally, a short while later, I believe it could have happened on Rosh Hashanah, the new year of the 7th month, the second new year of the year. Jewish people have 4 new years, but the main one is this one I'm talking about, which is Tishrei, in September-ish kind of time. And those were the key holidays in biblical times. Was the Rosh Hashanah, was the first of the month in the springtime. Then we have the next holiday, which is the great Sabbath of Shabbat HaGadol, which was the 10th of the month of the first month. And that's when they took the rope and they tied up that little Paschal lamb. And that was defiance. That was showing, my God, because they used to worship these animals, cows and bulls and lambs. And what we said, the Jewish people said, is not anymore. We're not a bunch of laggards. We're going to bust out of this place, and we're going to head up the greatest nation and the greatest country in the world. So now you're up to the 10th of the month, the first month of the year. Now what happens? Well, on the 14th, you have Korban Pesach. You have the sacrifice of the Paschal, Passover lamb, on the 14th of the month in the afternoon. But then again, isn't this another name for a holiday? Don't we have it? Yeah, it's called Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of the matzah. Now, matzah is this crackery flat bread. Not originally. If you see in the Haggadah, it talks about korech, and that means wrapping, because the matzah was thick and soft, almost like a pita bread. Oy, don't get me in trouble, Ibrahimov. But it was. If you go into the Yemenite community, their matzahs are thick and heavy and soft. They're not baked for more than 18 minutes. Yes, but those are the original kind of matzah. So you have the 14th in the evening is when they sacrificed and slaughtered the Paschal lamb. Then the 15th day, that whole day, that all the Jewish holidays started at night, that was the Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of the matzah, the flatbreads, that they had to eat the matzah for 7 days. That was what they were commanded to do. No chametz, nothing with leavened bread. That was it. You ran out of Egypt. You didn't have time for the bread to rise, so you would eat flatbreads. Maybe that's where the word came from. Then, it's not over yet. The 16th of the month. Now, you have to remember, on a timeline, that year was 2448. Now roll forward, they were in the land of Israel. Uvatem el haaretz. When they came to the land, this is when that they would count the Omer. Now you go, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, and you count the Omer. Not the point. The point of the Omer was that we lived in an agricultural society. And living in an agricultural society, our lives were dependent on the crops. No crops, holy crops. And when you had the holy crops, you would have to go to the field, harvest on the 16th of that month of the Chodesh HaRishon, of the first of the month, and you would harvest the barley. Barley harvested first, then was the wheat. So we take the barley, they would grind it up on the 16th, they would make cakes where they would pour oil and frankincense, and they would have these cakes. They would have these special cakes of bread that the Kohen, the high priest, not the high priest, the priest would bless it. That this was the blessed new crop of the new year. There's a phrase, Kemach Yashan, the old wheat. That was from the year before, but we lived in an agricultural society. We needed to move forward. We had to say, God blessed us. Here's what he blessed us with. We're acknowledging you as the source. And now we will have enough food to eat for the rest of the year. Interesting. Also, Passover in biblical times in Israel was 7 days total. Now it's 8 days outside of the land of Israel. That now began, Usafartem lachem, that the Jewish people were commanded to count Pentecost 50 times, Pent 5, that they counted 50 days from the first day of Passover until the day of Shavuot. What was Shavuot? Weeks. How many weeks? 7 weeks. So they counted 7 weeks, and according to my friend Sachi Dvira, he said that the land of Israel had 7 meridians, and that they would run east to west. And every week of those 7 weeks, the harvesters would harvest the southernmost meridian, gather that food in, put it in the silo. Then the next week, they would go a little further north, and the second 7th, and then they would harvest that barley. Eventually, it started ripening the wheat in the 5th, 6th, and 7th weeks. So now you understand how all of this ties together into having a blessed crop, and that people ate food because God blessed them. This is truly an amazing time of the year to understand the history, the agriculture, and the spirituality and the connection to God. I thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you again soon. That was the origin of the holiday of Passover. Be well. Wish I knew how to shut it off. And